Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're calling from. My name is Maggie Abdullah, and I'm the Director of Sales for the Eastern United States for Bennett Mercado Hospitality. Welcome to our masterclass featuring the Art of Travel Japan, a destination service company located in Japan. Today, we have with us Marie Pilaud, the North American Regional Manager with the Art of Travel.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today I wanted to start by giving you a small introduction to the Art of Travel and how we work. And then I'll introduce some of the tools that we've developed to help travel advisors sell and market Japan. Of course, I'll address the COVID-19 situation, what things are like on the ground in Japan, and our response to the crisis. And then finally, I just want to turn to the future when hopefully we can all travel again, and introduce some of the projects that we're working on and some of the exciting off the beaten path destinations that we're hoping to introduce to travelers in the future. Please note, we did get over 100 signups for this webinar. So I know there was a lot of questions, some of them quite specific. So if I don't get to answering your question on this webinar, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll leave my contact details at the end of the presentation, and Maggie will also send them out as a follow-up as well. So just getting right into it, just to tell you a little bit more about who we are. So the Art of Travel is a full-service Japan-based destination management company. We've been around since 2012, and we were originally founded by traditional business owners and artisans. So our founder, Mr. Yoshi, is a third-generation gold leaf manufacturer. And on our board, we also have kimono makers, sake brewers, architects, and other cultural experts. So these are people who really see travel as a way of sustaining Japan's culture and Japan's arts. And thanks to these founders, we have access to an extensive network of experts and experiences all over Japan, which enables us to create some really unique and special activities for your guests. We currently have offices in Tokyo, Kanazawa, and Los Angeles, which is where I am based right now. So when I speak to travel advisors about their experiences of booking Japan, to be honest, I tend to get quite mixed responses. Sometimes I get a lot of sighing. I think that Japan can be seen as quite a difficult destination to book sometimes. Just because I'm told it can be quite inflexible as a destination to work with. Sometimes the communication can be a challenge, and it's also very expensive, even for luxury travelers. So we're really trying to work as your partner in Japan to help kind of bridge those difficulties. And there's a few ways that we're doing this. So as I mentioned, we have an office here in the US, and that's really for us to be able to answer any of your questions in your time zone. And also so that if you have an inquiry, we can really get the ball rolling straight away. You're not having to wait till the Japan office wakes up. You can reach out to someone straight away and get the ball rolling on that. And then once we actually get into the planning process, you will have a dedicated consultant and a dedicated coordinator assigned to your inquiry. So what that means is you have two people based in Japan who are going to be working on the trip. The travel consultant is always a native English speaker who will be communicating with you and helping to build the itinerary. And the travel coordinator is a local Japanese team member who works on arranging all of the bookings and details of the trip. And of course, we do also offer 24/7 support for your clients once they're in the country. So I mentioned that we're often told that Japan can be a bit of an inflexible destination to work with. We're really trying to change that perception, and we're doing that by trying to help you book Japan in a way that works for you. So for example, if you want us to arrange a full service trip, that means where we arrange everything from the moment your client lands to the moment your client leaves Japan. Of course, we can do that. But we also understand that you may have your own relationships with hotels, your own amenities with hotels. So if you want to book hotels yourself, that is totally fine for us. If you let us know the details of those bookings, we can add them to the itinerary so that it's a seamless experience for your guests. We also, as I said, Japan is expensive, so we understand that sometimes guests do want to have more information about pricing so they can make decisions about where to spend their money. So we are able to provide itemized price quotes. Just to let you know what that looks like. So this is our kind of standard price quote. You can see that the pricing is arranged by category. So we have one price for accommodation, one price for guides and activities, and then one price for transportation. If you request an itemized price quote, this is what it's going to look like. So it's the same layout, but just we have pricing by line item. The only pricing we cannot provide is hotel pricing for hotels with which we have contract rates, just because it's in our contract that we can't reveal those. And one more thing I wanted to mention about our price quote is for those of you who have booked with us in the past, you'll know that previously we did have a planning, execution, and support fee, which we also called our 24-hour guest services fee. That was a 10,000 yen, so about $100 per day daily fee. We've now actually gotten rid of this fee. We received some great feedback from travel advisors that having this fee made it harder to sell the trip and just justify what this fee was for. So we've just completely removed that. So now what your clients are paying for are just the services and activities listed. We're also very happy to work white label. So what that means is that we are happy to put your branding front and center on all of the materials that we share, from the itineraries to the price quotes, and just work behind the scenes to create the experience for your guests. And then finally, when it comes to commission, there's also two ways that we can do this. So it's really what works best for you. Either we can provide you with the net pricing, and then you're free to add whatever commission you want, invoice your clients directly, and then just pay us that net price. Or if you let us know what commission percentage you want us to add, we can add that to the price quote, invoice your clients, and then pay you your commission on the 20th of the month. So that's a little bit about the art of travel and how we work. I just briefly want to mention some of the tools that we've created to help you sell and market Japan. So I'm always so impressed that travel advisors know so much about so many countries and destinations when I personally struggle just to know about Japan. So that being said, we do want to make it a little easier for you. And so we've created some tools to do that. One of the tools that we're really proud of is our Japan Insider collection. So this is a collection of itineraries for different interests, special occasions, and seasons. We have over 10 itineraries in the collection by now, from itineraries for foodies, to itineraries for honeymoons, for families, to itineraries for specific seasons like cherry blossom or autumn leaves. So the one you're seeing here is our Impressions of Japan itinerary. So that's an itinerary, it's just a really good 2-week introduction to Japan, hitting kind of all the main spots with some twists as well. And it's important to note that these itineraries, they can be booked as is, or they can serve as the inspiration and basis for a custom trip. And just to let you know a little bit more, show you what they look like. So you have a kind of day-by-day description of the trip, and with some accommodation options as well. And then you'll have a list of the standout activities here. And then one tool that I think is really valuable, and probably the most valuable tool of these itineraries, is the pricing and seasonal information. So all of these itineraries are priced for 2 categories: our essentials category, which includes 4-star accommodation and a mix of private and public transportation, and then our premium category, which is all 5-star accommodation and private transportation. So I think that this is a good way to give clients an idea of what their money and budget will get them in Japan. And then it's also gives you some idea of what things cost seasonally. So you have our calendar up here, which shows you what the low seasons are, what the peak seasons are in Japan. And then you can see here what things will cost during those seasons as well. Another tool that we've created is our experience menu. So this is a VIP menu of some of our more special and exclusive experiences. And so you can see it's really arranged by city. So we have activities and experiences in Tokyo, Kyoto, and Kanazawa, since Kanazawa is actually where our company was founded. And you have a range of activities here, from a private Zen meditation with a Zen monk. We have Iaido sword lessons. Iaido is this sword martial arts that was practiced during samurai times. And then also, a food tour with a professional chef. So these are just a few. And to zoom in on just one, so this is an activity in Tokyo, and I'm sure you're thinking, sushi class, there's millions of them in Tokyo that you can do. But what I think makes this really special and really creates a more elevated experience is the fact that you're going to Toyosu Fish Market with a professional sushi chef, which means you have access to the wholesale area, which is not usually accessible to tourists. And you're going to be meeting with vendors that this sushi chef has worked with for decades. So you're getting a much more authentic experience. And then once you've bought the products from these vendors, you return to the sushi restaurant and you will learn how to make sushi from this chef. One note about the chef himself, he's actually one of the few chefs at his level who speaks English. And he's actually becoming quite famous in Japan because he gave sushi making lessons to the British royal family, and also to the spouses of the G20 as well. And then just to highlight a totally different experience, so this time this is in Kanazawa, and I like to highlight this because sometimes you get people who are really passionate about art. And so this is a ceramic artist who has works in museums all over the world. But in this experience, you actually get to go to his traditional Japanese home, visit his studio, meet the artist himself, and just learn a little bit more about how he works. So if you have someone who's very interested in art, this is a chance to meet one of the most famous ceramic artists in Japan. So I hope you're getting a sense that, we really are trying to create more and more resources to help sell Japan. We're building on these all of the time. Some other things that we do offer, we have restaurant lists available, some guide profiles. If you also need like images and videos, either for your social media or on your website to help you market Japan, then you can also just email me and I can work with you to send you things that are appropriate and suited for your branding. Of course, we do webinars, but also we can offer one-to-one sessions. So if you want to dig more deeply into a specific destination in Japan or a specific topic in Japan, we can set up a call either with myself or one of our travel consultants to review that. And then we also do have a ton of resources on our blog and through our newsletters as well. So a lot of the materials that I've mentioned are actually available on our agent portal. So this is a portal where you will log in and then you have access to all of our Japan Insider Collection itineraries, as well as our experience menus, restaurant lists, guide profiles, etc. So don't worry about noting down the password and stuff, but Maggie will send that through to you guys after this webinar as well. So going on to COVID-19. I don't want to, spend too long talking about this. I know that it feels like all we do is think and talk about this, but I did want to give you an update on the situation in Japan, and then also just kind of let you know how we've been responding to it so far. So Japan was actually the second country after China to report coronavirus cases. So we've been dealing with this for a while. But until recently, it seemed like the spread of the virus was quite slow and contained in Japan compared to other parts of the world. So just to give you an idea, when I left Tokyo last month on March 16th, schools and museums were closed, but life was pretty much continuing as normal. People were still going to the office, restaurants and bars were still open. Tsukiji Fish Market, which was right next to where I used to live, was still super packed with people. But it does seem that since then, so in the last month, there has been a spike in cases, particularly in Tokyo and Osaka. So the prime minister has declared a state of emergency. What that means in Japan is that essentially they're just asking people to stay home because in the Japanese constitution, you legally cannot enforce a lockdown. So they just kind of have to politely ask that people try to stay home. And it seems from what I'm hearing from my colleagues that people are working from home, but it does fall short of what we're seeing in some parts of the US or in Europe, for example. So restaurants are still open. They're just closing a little earlier. Some people are still going to the office as well. So I wouldn't say that life is normal by any means, but it's not as restricted as maybe in other parts of the world. But the important thing to note is that Japan has also put in place travel bans for a lot of countries. So right now, if you have been in the US or many countries in Europe in the last 14 days, you will not be allowed into Japan currently. And we don't really know when that will be in place until. Regarding the Art of Travel's response to this, so we are offering free cancellation and postponement for all existing and future inquiries. So we've actually started seeing some inquiries come in again, for the end of this year or for 2021. But we understand that clients are understandably a bit hesitant about putting down any money because we just don't know what's going to happen. So the good news is that we're totally want to support inquiries coming in, of course. So we're offering free cancellation and postponement. So if clients decide to book for 2021 and the situation has not changed enough that they can still travel, we will fully refund them. Something else that has been affected by COVID-19 is, of course, the Olympics. So the Olympics were postponed to next year, to 2021. It's almost the same dates as it was this year. And for our Olympic bookings, we're seeing that most clients have just chosen to postpone. We've had a few people cancel, but mostly people are choosing to just postpone till next year. The accommodations and transportation services that we work with, they've all been offering free cancellation and postponement as well. And in terms of pricing, we're seeing that most suppliers are just keeping the prices from this year for next year as well. And so finally, I just wanted to point out as a resource, we have made a health and safety page on our website. And since things are just changing so quickly, that's probably the place where you'll find the most up-to-date information on the situation in Japan, and then also our policies in regards to the situation as well. But enough about COVID-19. Let's talk about the future, just to end on a more hopeful note. So we're all staying positive and hoping that we'll all be able to travel again sooner rather than later. And so we've been working on some things to make sure that when travel does come back, we're ready and we have some exciting things to offer. So one thing that we're really excited about is our collaboration with the travel PR company Wonder Trunk. So Wonder Trunk is a Japanese company. They're actually owned by a large Japanese advertising company, but they focus on partnering with local governments and local tourism boards to promote travel to more remote and off the beaten path destinations in Japan. And so we think that working with them is just a really good chance to offer some exclusive access to some experts and destinations that are not so common. And it's also a chance for us to help develop these destinations so that they're suitable for luxury travelers as well. So I just wanted to highlight a few of these destinations to finish off, just to get excited about some places to travel in the future, hopefully. So Eastern Hokkaido, that's where this main big photo was taken. It's one of my favorite places in Japan. Everyone knows Hokkaido for Niseko, which is becoming the ski hub of Japan. That's in the west. But Eastern Hokkaido, it's somewhere that still remains very much undiscovered and untouched. So it's really home to beautiful untouched nature. It's home to one of the largest population densities of brown bears in the world. And there's a ton of really amazing wildlife there. So you'll see scenery from active volcanoes to dense forest to drift ice in the winter. And it's great for active travelers. So you can go canoeing down these kind of very remote rivers. There's horseback riding, hiking, boat trips, and more. And the interesting thing about it is that there's also still some good kind of more high-end accommodation options. So there's a great glamping option, which is actually just on the edge of the lake that's pictured here. And then there's also some more high-end guest houses available as well. Goto Islands, if you've heard of these islands before, I will be very impressed because I actually had not. So there are these tiny collection of islands just off the coast of Nagasaki, so on Japan's southern island of Kyushu. And they're really interesting because they offer a mix of this kind of beach, turquoise water destination with some really interesting history, because they were the islands where Christians took refuge when Christianity was banned in Japan. So all over these islands, you have these kind of hidden churches that were built and that are now World Heritage Sites. So it's very interesting to just get that beach destination feel, but still get some culture and history in there as well. And it's also great for cyclists. There's some excellent cycling tour options, and we have a great cycling guide with some really high-end cycling materials, equipment. So I would recommend it for those types of travelers as well. Shimane. So Shimane is kind of north of Hiroshima, so just on the other coast. About 4 hours from Kyoto, I would say, to get by train. And it's not only is it, it has nice nature, obviously it's on the coast, but it's also the home of Kagura Theatre. So Kagura is it's less well known, I would say, than No or Kabuki theater. But personally, I think it's way more interesting to watch. No theater, even in Japan, has a reputation of people go there and they fall asleep. So it's interesting for a short time, but long periods of time, probably not the thing. Whereas Kagura, it's there's no speaking, it's all done for music and dance. And it's just telling traditional folk tales with these kind of amazing homemade costumes. And so if you go to Shimane, you can either experience a private performance or you can attend the local village performance, which I personally think is even more interesting because you get to attend with all of the locals. And this is just their weekly kind of entertainment that they go to every week. And then finally, I just wanted to finish on a kind of spiritual and wellness destination, because I think what I've been hearing from people is that the suspicion is that once this crisis is over, people are going to be interested in these kind of more remote, but also more wellness-focused destinations. And I think this is really unique. So this is in Yamagata, which is just north. It's north of Japan, about 4 or 5 hours north of Tokyo, but you can fly there. And Yamagata is home to the Yamabushi monks. So these are mountain monks that practice, they were isolated for centuries, and they've only recently kind of opened up to the outside world, and they're actually offering visitors the chance to train with them, to undergo the training that they themselves have to go through as monks. And so you can either do a 3-day training or a 5-day training. The idea is the 5-day training is like the real intense training, and the 3-day one is a kind of modified one that's not as hardcore. But so during this training, you will dress in the monk garbs that you can see here, which are all in white. It's meant to symbolize like rebirth, I think. And then there's no talking for the entire time of the training, and you're basically hiking these holy mountains. There's 3 of them, one for birth, one for death, and then one for rebirth. And during that time, you're also going to be meditating under waterfalls and eating traditional monk food. So I think if you have someone who's interested in spirituality and wellness, this is something that is really, really unique to this part of the world and to this region specifically. And I think that can be quite interesting as well. So that's it from me. As I said, I'm leaving my contact details here. I have plenty of time to answer your questions these days, so please feel free to reach out if there's anything I didn't touch on that you wanted an answer to.